Let's have a conversation about Y Combinator, and I want to really tell you everything they teach you there. So if you're interested in Y Combinator as a startup owner, or you are, let's say, you just thinking about the startup world in general, this is the only video I want you to watch right now. So the first module, when you go to Y Combinator, the first module they actually teach you there, it's all about your startup. And it's not just about your startup as a business idea or as a business model, but they also want to really pay attention to the rationale for the business in the first place. In other words, they really want to really explain to you whether or not this is the right time for you to start a business in the first place. I mean, you're probably happy, you're probably excited about your business, but maybe when you go to Y Combinator, they will look at the facts, they'll look at the trends in your niche, they'll look at the trends in your industry, and maybe they will tell you, hey, listen, now is not a good time to start your business. You might want to do a little bit more research before you come to market. Okay, so the first thing they want to really those are Y Combinator experts. They want to really explain to you whether you should start a startup in the first place. Sometimes when you go to a Y Combinator, they'll tell you, listen, come after 2 years, after 3 years, do more research, make sure that there is traction in the market for your product or service before you come to market. Okay. Another thing they actually they teach you when you go to Y Combinator is actually telling you whether or not you should start something else, but not a startup. In other words, sometimes you can really think about having a joint venture, or you can think about maybe being part of like being bought over by another company, a larger company, even before actually coming up as an independent startup. Okay, so sometimes instead of let's say being your independent startup, you might want to really explore being bought over by another giant in the industry like Google, or you know what I mean. So the Y Combinator just wants to make sure that you don't waste a lot of time and energy and resources with the wrong product or wrong service. Also, Y Combinator will teach you things you need to know before even coming to market with your startup, not just in terms of the organization of the startup, but also the legality of your industry. So when you go to Y Combinator, besides everything they teach you around your startup, they also really explain to you things you need to understand around your startup ideas. So they actually explain to you how to get and evaluate startup ideas. You probably think, again, going back to what I said earlier, you are excited about your startup. You think this is the best startup, this is the best business model. When you start talking to Y Combinator experts, you might soon realize that your ideas is not really that great, because Y Combinator has a matrix. They have a matrix in-house where they actually evaluate startup ideas, and they also explain to you how to explore other startup ideas in your niche. So instead of using your own startup ideas, they might help you actually pivot to a related idea. Maybe you are just going into a specific product or a specific service, but Y Combinator will think that that product or that service that you are going after is so saturated, that industry is so saturated, and listen, it's just maybe better to go to pivot to a let's say a field that's kind of related to it, but not the same field. Okay, so that's really good because it really helps you actually center your own thinking. Okay, and also startup Y Combinator helps you also understand where do great startup ideas come from. In other words, great startup ideas are not just about closing the deals with VC firms, with investors. It's also about making sure that you can connect with your potential customers. And as I've always said on this video and in other videos, before you close a deal at the transactional level, you have to close the deal at the emotional level, at the human level. In other words, you have to be good at storytelling to be able to connect with your potential customers. And that's what Y Combinator helps you. I mean, they're not going to teach you everything when it comes to storytelling, because you got to have a little bit of talent yourself. But Y Combinator can help you a lot in terms of structuring your thinking and structuring your storytelling. If you go to Y Combinator, they also teach you to actually contextualize your team, the storytelling around your team. Okay, so how do you actually present your team? Who should you present in your team? Who are those prominent folks that you have to talk to? You have to talk about when you actually reach out to investors, when you reach out to when you're maybe presenting your seed stage pitch, for instance. Okay, so when I'm talking about your team here, Y Combinator wants you to make sure that you can clarify the storytelling, you can sharpen the storytelling around your founders or your co-founders. The story has to be clear. There shouldn't be any shenanigans. It has to be really truthful. You can't lie. And this is one thing that Y Combinator actually pays attention to big time. Sometimes lying may not be intentional, but lying is always lying. So Y Combinator wants to make sure that you are coming with the most straightforward answer to potential questions, okay? And Y Combinator experts will also teach you co-founder mistakes that kill companies and how to avoid them. So anything that really can actually creep up or creep out during the due diligence process that investors have, Y Combinator is going to make sure that you avoid that. Okay, and so they will teach you everything from how to really talk about your co-founders, the profile, how to really profile them, their bios, and so on and so forth. Y Combinator experts will also teach you how to split equity among co-founders, because it's one of those things where Y Combinator is going to help you actually get the funding that you need, as long as you have the right business model and then you have traction in your market. Okay, and so but at some point there will be a question of splitting equity, right? And also Y Combinator will help you actually create a certain level of company, let's say a certain level of culture. How do you work together? How do you actually create the mission? How do you create the HR policies that will really further your business forward? If you go to Y Combinator, they will also teach you how to talk to users. So if you are in the seed stage or in a later stage, you also want to make sure that you are able to have a conversation with users. That's what I told you a little earlier when I said before you close the deal at the transactional level, you have to close the deal at the emotional level. You have to close the deal at the human level. You have to close the deal at the psychological level. And Y Combinator is going to help you there big time. How do you talk to users? How do you build an MVP? So most valuable product. In other words, now we are actually exiting the qualitative aspects and we're getting to the quantitative aspects. Okay, so for you to actually gain traction, for you to really attract the kind of revenue that can help investors exit your investments profitably, you want to really build an MVP, a most valuable product. And Y Combinator is going to help you. It's going to give you the metrics that you need to actually build such a product. Okay. For instance, Y Combinator is gonna walk you through what they call product development cycle fundamentals. They will explain to you what you need to actually succeed in a very competitive market. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you communicate around your product? I mean, whether your product is an MVP or not, you have to be strong at how you communicate around that product. I mean, not every product is MVP from day one. Some products take time. Some products are just MVP right off the bat, right? So if you happen to be in a situation where your product is not an MVP, Y Combinator, if they believe in your business model, they will teach you ways to actually elevate your product to a certain level where you can really compete in a larger field. Okay, that's important to really think about. And Y Combinator also will teach you how you can structure your product in such a way that you can actually appeal not only to your customers but also to investors in the first place. So that's really good from a scalability point of view. So if you go to Y Combinator, they will also explain to you how to come to market. Okay, how to come to market, and how to come to market is kind of quite essential if you want to really trigger the revenue generation process. So, for instance, Y Combinator will explain to you, or even teach you. They will teach you how to launch properly, because not every product has the same launching program, and also the geography where you are at will impact the kind of launch program that you have. If you are in Chicago, if you are in LA, if you are in New York, if you are in Ottawa, if you are in Montreal, if you are in Shanghai, if you are in Abuja, Nigeria, if you are in Johannesburg, if you are in Brasilia, the launching pattern is totally different, because the launch has to have some cultural, has to have some economic, has to have also some psychological aspect to it. Okay, so this is the cool thing about Y Combinator. They will explain to you what kind of patterns you need to follow, what kind of processes you need to follow when launching your product or service. And Y Combinator also is very good at explaining to you, at least teaching you step by step, how to get your first customers. It's not about just getting your first 5 to 10 customers, but it's about getting to your first 5 to 10 loyal customers. I want to insist on that. Loyal customers. It's not just about having customers who come and then go, they don't come back. No, you want to build certain loyalty in the sales process, and Y Combinator is going to help you do that. Also, Y Combinator helps you also do things that do not scale. So the thing is that, of course, Y Combinator wants to make sure that your revenue model is sustainable, right? So there are things that you can do to scale, and there are things that you don't have to do to scale, because there are certain things that scale easily, and there are other things that really scale in a very difficult manner, or let's say not in a gradual way. And Y Combinator does a great job at differentiating those two categories. If you go to Y Combinator, one thing they really pay attention to is the revenue aspect of things. Of course, the qualitative aspect is really important, but so is the quantitative aspect. Okay, the numbers, 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 numbers. So if you want to really generate millions in revenue, or even billions in revenue, the quantitative foundation has to be strong. And this is why, let's say, quantitative experts at Y Combinator will help you get your numbers straight. Will help you get your numbers right. So, for instance, they will explain to you, they will teach you how to set KPIs and prioritize your time. So, how to set KPIs? KPIs, key performance indicators. Okay, how do you prioritize your time? How do you prioritize your team's time? Because see, the thing is, in your team, you have different levels of skill set. You have different levels of hierarchy, or let's say hierarchical layers, if you will. So not everybody's time is actually worth the same. If you are the CEO of the company, your time is more valuable than someone who is, let's say, an administrative assistant. I'm not saying that the administrative assistant is not important, but it's just that in terms of worth of their time, you don't have the same kind of comparison to think about. Okay, so if you go to Y Combinator, they will explain to you how to set KPIs and prioritize your time. They'll also share with you startup business models and pricing. So the thing is that every startup, depending on the industry you're in, you might have different business models. You might have different pricing models. You might have different pricing tiers to actually contemplate. And this is where Y Combinator, based on their vast experience, can really add value big time, because they're dealing with hundreds of companies, hundreds of startups. Okay, and they also will help you grow your startup. So they'll teach you growth models for startups, growth patterns for startups, the kind of train you have to be on, and the things you need to do to actually grow fast and faster, if you will. If you go to Y Combinator, they will really help you big time in terms of fundraising. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, Y Combinator as an incubator is actually very well known for actually opening layers of fundraising ability to your startup. Okay, so basically, if you go to Y Combinator, they will explain to you, for instance, how startup fundraising works this year, not last year, not 2 years ago, not 10 years ago, even though they were here 10 years ago. But they will talk to you about what happens today. What are the trends? What are the criteria? What are the requirements? What are investors looking for? Because they have a lot of experience, they have a lot of feedback. So they will explain to you how the fundraising process works this year. And they will also explain to you how to apply and succeed at Y Combinator. Remember, if you have Y Combinator actually backing you up, chances are you are actually you have access to a larger realm of opportunities, not just when it comes to funding, but also when it comes to other stuff. Okay, so if you go to Y Combinator, they'll explain to you how to apply, how to succeed, and most importantly, how to actually be scalable and sustainable. That's really important. And also, if you go to Y Combinator, they will also share with you a little bit about their biggest, let's say, partners or their most known companies. So they'll share with you the founding story of Facebook. You might be thinking, well, Facebook has been around for more than 20 years, but Facebook wasn't always Facebook when they started. And Y Combinator really has a clear idea about what really went right, and they will share that with you. It's not just about stuff you can just read in the news. No, there's stuff that you have insider tips. You have experts at Y Combinator that actually used to work at Facebook. So that's kind of important to really share that with with a newer generation so that everybody can learn. And Y Combinator also will share with you the story of the founding story of 23andMe, another prominent company. So again, the whole idea here is for you to really learn from some of the best in the industry in their respective industries, to learn from them about what works, what worked, what didn't work, and what can be. I mean, what you can really adapt to your specific industry. So those are actually the top 8 categories that you need to really expect if you were to go to Y Combinator. Okay, so everything from your startup to to pricing to applying and being approved at Y Combinator. So as a coda into this conversation, I talked to you about everything you need to know while being a Y Combinator, what to teach you there. Okay, thank you so much for listening to me. I really appreciate it. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.